Alien queen forbade love, then broke her own law for a human. The law had ruled the empire longer than memory itself. No ruler was allowed to love. It was not written as poetry or tradition. It was written as survival. Long ago, when the empire was young, an ancient queen had loved deeply, and when that love was threatened, she burned entire worlds to protect it. The empire nearly destroyed itself in grief and rage. From that ruin came the law, cold and absolute. Emotion weakened judgment. Love invited chaos. A queen must belong only to the empire. The current queen had written those words herself when she first took the throne. She had believed them with perfect clarity. She sat now upon a raised platform of dark crystal, her posture flawless, her expression calm. The hall below her was vast and silent. Hundreds of alien officials stood in ordered lines, waiting. At the center of the hall stood a single human. He was smaller than most in the room, fragile by alien standards, no armor, no weapons. Just simple clothing and tired eyes that had seen too much too quickly. The queen studied him without blinking. Humans were new to the stars, emotional, loud, quick to bond and quicker to fight. Useful, perhaps, but dangerous. That was the council's opinion. That had been her opinion, too, yet this one had survived something no one expected. The human had been part of a trade convoy when pirates attacked. The alien escorts panicked when their command structure collapsed. The human did not. He gathered survivors, organized defenses, rerouted damaged systems by hand, and held the convoy together long enough for help to arrive. He had done it without rank, without authority, without fear. That was why he stood before the queen now. "What is your name?" the queen asked. Her voice echoed through the hall, smooth and controlled. "Alex," the human replied. He did not bow, he did not kneel, he did not raise his voice either. He stood straight, hands relaxed at his sides. Murmurs rippled through the officials. Disrespect. The queen lifted one finger. Silence returned instantly. "You stand before the ruler of this empire," she said. "Do you understand the consequences of dishonor?" Alex met her gaze. "Yes. You do not appear afraid." "I am," he said simply. "I just don't let it decide everything." That answer caused discomfort in the room. The queen felt it too, though she did not show it. Fear deciding everything was the foundation of the law. "Why did you act during the attack?" she asked. "You were not ordered." Alex thought for a moment. People were going to die, that seemed like reason enough. The queen had expected ambition, gratitude-seeking, some human desire for recognition. Instead, there was only truth. She leaned back slightly, studying him as one might study an unfamiliar tool. "You place individual lives above structure." "Yes," Alex said, "but structure matters too. It just shouldn't replace people." Another murmur, louder this time. The queen felt something shift within her, not emotion. She told herself it was analysis, curiosity. "You will remain here," she said suddenly. The council stiffened. "He is not a prisoner," she continued. "Nor is he a guest. He will serve as an observer." "I wish to understand how humans think." Alex nodded. "Understood." No gratitude, no relief, just acceptance. As guards escorted him away, the queen remained still, her expression unchanged. Yet her thoughts were no longer perfectly ordered. That night, alone in her private chamber, she replayed the interaction again and again. She told herself it was necessary for governance. Humans were spreading quickly. Understanding them was critical. Still, when she closed her eyes, she saw Alex's face. Calm, honest. Unafraid of truth. Days passed. Alex was given work meant to expose weakness. He was assigned to failing systems, political deadlocks, logistical problems others avoided. The queen watched through reports and recordings. Instead of demanding authority, Alex listened. Instead of issuing commands, he asked questions. He treated alien officials as individuals, not pieces on a board. Problems began to resolve. A power station stabilized after Alex convinced rival factions to share responsibility instead of blame. A food shortage eased when he reorganized distribution around actual need rather than rank. Each solution was simple. Each one relied on trust. The queen's advisors grew uneasy. "He is influencing behavior," one warned. "They are responding to him emotionally." The queen's gaze remained fixed on the data. "Results matter, but emotion leads to instability." "So does rigidity," she replied. She surprised herself with that answer. Eventually, she summoned Alex privately. The chamber was smaller than the grand hall, lit softly instead of harshly. Alex stood alone before her. "Do you know why love is forbidden?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "History. Love destroys objectivity." Sometimes, Alex said. Sometimes it creates it. She narrowed her eyes. Explain. If you care about someone, he said, you pay attention, you think ahead, you try harder not to fail. The Queen folded her hands. And when they are threatened, you protect them, Alex said, but you don't burn the universe to do it. That's not love, that's fear. The words struck something deep and buried. You speak as if you understand rulership, she said. I understand responsibility, Alex replied. That's close enough. Silence stretched between them. Do you love your people? She asked. Yes, Alex said without hesitation. That love would be your weakness. It's my reason, he answered. The Queen dismissed him soon after. Alone again, she stood by the tall window overlooking the endless city. She had ruled for centuries without attachment. No family. No companions, only duty. And yet something had begun to crack. She ordered Alex's transfer away from the palace the next day. The command sat unsigned on her desk for hours. Outside the palace, distant alarms began to sound. Reports flooded in. A rival empire had launched an unexpected attack, exploiting rigid fleet formations and predictable responses. The Queen stood, all hesitation vanishing as training took over. Summon the council, she ordered. As the empire prepared for war, the Queen paused only once. Her gaze flicked to the unsigned order on her desk. She closed her hand around it, and for the first time since she wrote the law herself, the Queen hesitated, not out of fear, but out of understanding. The alarms echoed through the capital like a living thing. The Queen stood at the center of the command chamber, surrounded by shifting light panels and silent officers. Star maps showed enemy fleets cutting through border systems with brutal efficiency. The rival empire had studied them well, too well. Their formations were predictable. Their responses slow. The Queen felt no panic. Panic was forbidden, but concern sharpened her focus. Fleet command, she said calmly. Initiate standard defensive pattern. The officers obeyed at once. Lines of ships moved into perfect formation. And immediately losses appeared. Enemy weapons struck exposed angles that should not have existed. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds. The chamber filled with quiet reports of destruction. The Queen's jaw tightened. This was not acceptable. A just response, she ordered. Increase firepower at the center. The change slowed the enemy but did not stop them. Every move followed doctrine. Every move was anticipated. A junior officer hesitated, then spoke. Your Majesty, permission to speak freely. The Queen turned her gaze toward him. Granted. The human, the officer said carefully. Alex, his methods stabilized internal systems faster than our own. He adapts quickly, perhaps. Several council members reacted sharply. Unacceptable, one snapped. Humans are emotionally driven. This is warfare. The Queen raised her hand. Silence fell. She stared at the battlefield projections, then at the growing casualty lists. Doctrine was failing. Bring the human, she said. The chamber stiffened, but no one argued. Alex arrived quickly, escorted but not restrained. His eyes scanned the room once, taking in the chaos, the data, the tension. He said nothing until the Queen addressed him. You are observing an active war, she said. You will speak only when spoken to. Understood, Alex replied. The Queen gestured toward the star map. What do you see? Alex stepped closer, studying the moving symbols. You're fighting like a single mind, he said slowly. They're fighting like many. That is superiority, a council member said. Unity, Alex shook his head. It's a weakness when your enemy knows your thoughts. The Queen did not interrupt him. They're baiting your fleets, Alex continued. You respond exactly as expected. You're strong but stiff. And your solution? The Queen asked. Let go, Alex said. Murmurs erupted. You want us to abandon command structure? A general demanded. No, Alex said. You want it to breathe, give captains freedom to act, trust them. The Queen considered this. Trust was dangerous. Trust meant unpredictability, but unpredictability was what they needed. Authorize limited autonomy, she ordered. The council froze. Your Majesty, now, she said. Command spread. Fleet captains received new orders, adapt, choose, survive. The effect was immediate. Enemy projections faltered. Human-inspired maneuvers broke patterns. Ships split, regrouped, sacrificed position to save allies. Losses slowed, then reversed. The Queen watched as her empire fought not as a machine, but as a living force. Hours later, the attack was repelled. The command chamber exhaled as one. The Queen dismissed the council and remained behind with Alex. You disobeyed nothing, she said. Yet you changed everything, Alex shrugged. People work better when they feel responsible. You believe responsibility comes from emotion. Yes, Alex said. Care creates commitment. The Queen studied him carefully. You influence without command. I listen, he replied. That's usually enough. She dismissed him again, but this time her gaze lingered. The next cycles were tense. The rival empire retreated but did not surrender. Border skirmishes continued. Each time the Queen allowed more adaptive responses. Each time results improved. And each time Alex's presence spread quietly through the palace. He did not seek power. He did not challenge authority. He simply helped where needed. Engineers began consulting him. Officers sought his perspective. Even council aides listened. The Queen's advisors grew increasingly alarmed. He is reshaping behavior, one warned. Attachment is forming. The Queen responded evenly. Effectiveness is forming. Privately, however, she felt something deeper stirring. She found herself calling Alex more often, asking questions that were not tactical, listening. Do humans ever stop wanting? She asked him once. Alex smiled faintly. No, we just learn what's worth wanting. And if wanting brings pain? It usually does, he said. We decide anyway. That answer stayed with her. One night, reports arrived confirming internal unrest. Some citizens questioned the old law openly. Soldiers spoke of fighting for each other, not just command. The Queen knew what had to be done. She issued the transfer order again. Alex was to leave the capital at once. When she summoned him to inform him, he listened quietly. You do not argue, she noted. It's your empire, Alex said. If my presence causes trouble, I'll go. You do not protest. I don't want to hurt what I'm trying to help. That sentence struck harder than any accusation. The Queen nodded once. You will depart at first cycle. Alex inclined his head. Thank you for trusting me even briefly. After he left, the Queen stood alone in the chamber, staring at the city lights. She told herself this was necessary. Attachment led to weakness. Influence led to instability. Then emergency alerts surged again. The rival empire had returned, stronger, smarter, and directly targeting civilian systems. The Queen's breath slowed. Summon Alex, she ordered. He has already departed, an aide replied. The Queen closed her eyes for a fraction of a second. Track him, she said. And prepare all fleets. As war returned with greater fury, the Queen felt something unfamiliar, not fear, regret. And beneath it, the quiet realization that the law she had trusted for centuries might be the very thing endangering her people. The stars burned with quiet violence. The Queen stood once more in the command chamber, watching reports scroll faster than officers could speak. The rival empire had learned from their failure. Their attacks were no longer direct. They struck supply lines, communication relays, civilian hubs, not to win quickly but to exhaust. This was a war of pressure. Casualties rising in outer sectors, an officer reported. Morale decline detected. Morale, the word felt strange on the Queen's mind. It was not something the Empire had ever measured closely. Loyalty was enforced, discipline was expected. But now she saw the cracks. Her people were adapting, but unevenly. Captains given freedom thrived, others froze without direct orders. The machine was learning to breathe, but some parts still resisted air. Status of the human? The Queen asked. He was intercepted en route, an aide replied. His transport was caught in a civilian convoy targeted by the enemy. They are holding position near the Loran Belt. The Queen's fingers tightened slightly. Bring him back, she said, with protection. Hours later, Alex returned to the capital. He looked more tired than before, his calm stretched thin by what he had seen. The Queen did not waste time. The enemy has changed, she said. So must we. Alex studied the battlefield projections. They're trying to break your people, not your fleets. Yes. You can't command your way out of that, he said. I know, the Queen replied quietly. That admission was not small. It echoed inside her, a fracture in ancient certainty. What do humans do, she asked, when pressure does not break? Alex looked at her. We lean on each other? The council resisted the next changes with open fear. Civilian evacuation was decentralized. Local leaders were empowered. Military units were paired with population centers, not just objectives. Communication channels were opened laterally, not just upward. This will cause disorder, the council warned. It will cause trust, the Queen replied. The enemy did not expect what followed. Instead of fleeing in panic, civilians organized. Supply shortages were met with shared stockpiles. When communication nodes were destroyed, messages traveled by small ships piloted by volunteers. People chose to stay, to help, to fight in whatever way they could. Alex moved constantly, never staying in one place. He spoke to pilots, engineers, medics. He did not inspire with speeches. He inspired by listening. The Queen watched through reports and recordings. She saw soldiers risking themselves not because they were ordered, but because they refused to abandon each other. The Empire began to change. The rival empire grew frustrated. Their strategies relied on fear and isolation, but fear did not spread the way it should have. Losses were mourned, not hidden. Anger became resolve instead of despair. Then came the ambush. A major enemy fleet slipped past defenses and struck deep toward the capital. Their target was clear. End the Queen, end the symbol. The command chamber erupted into motion. Fleet interception will not arrive in time, an officer said. Evacuation protocols. Denied, the Queen said. I remain. Alex was there, standing beside her. They don't need to take the capital, he said. They need you to run. I will not, she replied. Alex nodded. Then let's make that matter. He turned to the officers. You don't need to win here. You need to hold long enough for people to choose you. The Queen met his gaze. You assume they will. I've seen them, Alex said. They already have. The defense was improvised and desperate. Civilian ships formed barriers. Non-combat vessels jammed sensors. Old cargo platforms were repurposed as shields. It was messy. It was inefficient. It worked. The enemy fleet hesitated, confused by the chaos. Their precision faltered. The Queen stood at the center of it all, issuing orders that were no longer absolute commands, but guidance. Suggestions, trust. When the final enemy ship retreated, the capital still stood. Cheers echoed across channels not programmed for celebration. The Queen felt something rise in her chest. Not pride, connection. Later, as damage reports came in, the Queen dismissed the chamber and remained with Alex. You risked everything, she said. So did you, Alex replied. I broke the law, she said quietly, not openly, but in truth. Yes, Alex said, you did. She did not correct him. You could have left, she continued. You were ordered away. I was, he said, but this place matters now. The Queen looked at him. You matter now. The words hung between them, dangerous and honest. Before either could speak further, an urgent message arrived. The council was convening an emergency session. They know, the Queen said. Alex nodded. Then it's time. The council chamber was full, not just officials, but representatives from across the empire. Soldiers, workers, citizens. This was unprecedented. The Queen stood before them alone. I am accused, she said calmly, of violating the highest law of our empire. Whispers rippled through the room. I do not deny it, she continued. I allowed influence, I allowed attachment, I allowed change. A council elder stepped forward. You endangered us. I saved us, the Queen replied, with help. She gestured toward Alex. He is human, she said, and he showed us something we forgot. That strength does not come from isolation, it comes from choosing each other. Anger flared, fear followed. Love destroyed us once, the elder said. No, the Queen replied. Fear did. She spoke then not as a ruler but as a witness, of battles survived through trust, of citizens who chose unity without command. Of an empire that endured not because it was controlled, but because it cared. Alex stepped forward then, though no one had summoned him. I will leave, he said. If my presence divides you, I will go now and never return. The chamber stilled. I did not come to change your laws, he continued. I came because people needed help. That's what humans do. We help even when it hurts. He looked at the Queen. Especially then. The council was silent. Outside, the war still burned. But inside the chamber, something far older was breaking. The Queen felt the weight of centuries press against her. She did not know how the council would decide. She only knew that whatever came next, the empire could never return to what it had been. And for the first time since she took the throne, that truth did not terrify her. Silence filled the council chamber long after the human finished speaking. No alarms sounded. No voices rose. The war outside continued, but inside the heart of the empire, everything paused. The Queen stood still, hands folded, her posture calm. She did not look at the council. She looked at the people gathered there, soldiers with damaged armor, engineers with tired eyes, civilians who had traveled far simply to be present. This was not how power was supposed to feel. The elder counselor finally broke the silence. The law exists to protect us, he said. A ruler bound by attachment risks everything. Yes, the Queen replied. Including herself, murmurs spread. Then you admit guilt, another counselor said. I admit responsibility, the queen answered. I broke the law knowingly. Gasps followed. Confession from a ruler was unheard of. The elder counselor's voice hardened. Then tradition demands judgment. The queen inclined her head once. I am ready. That word echoed. Judgment. Guards shifted uneasily. Some looked toward the queen, others toward Alex. None moved. Before judgment, a military commander spoke, stepping forward, there must be truth. Permission was implied, not asked. I commanded fleets during the defense of the capital, the commander continued. Under old doctrine, we would have failed. We survived because we trusted each other, because we were allowed to care. Several soldiers nodded. A civilian followed. My city was targeted. We were cut off. No orders came. We helped each other anyway. We lived. Voices rose one by one, not shouting, sharing. The council listened as evidence piled not of betrayal, but of survival. The elder counselor lifted his staff. Enough, emotion clouds judgment. The queen finally turned her gaze toward him. Emotion revealed judgment, she said. Fear hid it. She took a step forward. If the law demands punishment, then punish me, but do not pretend the law saved us. It did not. The chamber shook not physically, but in belief. After a long moment, the elder counselor spoke again. Then the law itself must be examined. That sentence changed everything. The council withdrew to deliberate. The queen was escorted to a private chamber under guard. Not a cell, not freedom. Alex was allowed to remain nearby but barred from speaking to her. Hours passed. The queen stood alone, looking out at the city she had ruled without attachment for centuries. Fires burned in distant districts. Ships moved like scattered stars. Her people endured. She felt no regret. She wondered briefly if this was what love felt like, not desire, not possession, responsibility chosen freely. The door opened. The elder counselor entered alone. The council has reached a decision, he said. The queen turned calmly. Speak, you will step down, he said. Effective immediately, she nodded. As expected. You will not be executed, he continued, nor imprisoned. You will live as a private citizen. The queen felt something close to relief. And the law, the elder counselor hesitated. Suspended pending reform. That was more than she had hoped for. You may see the human, he added, briefly. Alex entered moments later. You're free, he said quietly. I am no longer queen, she replied. Alex studied her face. How do you feel? She considered the question honestly. Uncertain, but lighter. They stood in silence for a moment. I'm leaving, Alex said. That was part of the agreement to prevent further division. She had expected this. Still, something tightened inside her. You owe us nothing, she said. I know, Alex replied. That's why I can choose. He paused. You changed your empire, she shook her head. They changed themselves. I only stopped holding them still. Another silence. If the council reforms the law, Alex said, they'll need someone who understands both sides. She met his gaze. You, he smiled faintly. Humans are good at standing between things. Outside, the war did not wait. The rival empire launched its final offensive, a desperate strike meant to force surrender before reform could solidify. Fleets converged. Supply lines burned. The empire responded without the queen, and it did not fall. Local leaders coordinated freely. Military units acted on shared intent instead of rigid orders. Civilians supported defense openly. Messages flowed faster than ever. The enemy was overwhelmed by something they could not predict. Choice. When the war ended, it did not end with celebration. It ended with quiet rebuilding. Weeks later, the council reconvened. The queen was invited not as ruler but as witness. The elder counselor spoke. The law is rewritten. No ruler would be forbidden from connection. Instead, rulers would be accountable for how they handled it. Transparency, shared authority, balance. Love is no longer a crime, he said. Fear will no longer rule alone. The queen felt a breath leave her she had not known she was holding. Outside the chamber, she found Alex waiting. They asked me to stay, he said, as a liaison. No rank, no power, she nodded. That suits you. They walked together through the city, unnoticed by most, just two figures among many. You never said goodbye, Alex said. I didn't think I was allowed, she replied. He smiled. You are now. She stopped walking and faced him. For centuries, she said, I believed love would destroy us. And now, he asked. And now I know it already saved us, she said. The future remained uncertain. The empire was changing, slowly, unevenly, but it was alive. And for the first time, the queen, no longer bound by her own law, allowed herself to hope. The war ended without ceremony. There was no single moment when the stars went quiet, no grand announcement. The enemy fleets withdrew one by one, their pressure fading like a storm that had spent itself. When the final hostile signal vanished from the borders, the Empire did not cheer. It breathed. Cities repaired themselves slowly. Damaged stations were rebuilt not by command alone, but by volunteers who showed up because they wanted to. Military units returned home, carrying stories not of orders followed, but of people protected. The Empire was no longer the same. The former queen lived now in a modest residence overlooking a shared plaza. No guards stood at her door. No banners marked her presence. Most who passed by did not recognize her, and that was exactly as she wished. She spent her days listening. Engineers spoke to her about systems that needed redesigning. Parents spoke of children who had grown up during war. Soldiers spoke of fear and of the strange strength they found when they admitted it to one another. She did not command. She advised only when asked. And she learned. Alex worked nearby, moving between stations and councils as a liaison. He held no rank and wore no uniform, yet doors opened when he arrived, not because he demanded entry, but because people trusted him. Other species had begun to notice. Messages arrived from distant systems, asking how an empire so rigid had survived a war meant to break it. The official answers spoke of reform and cooperation. The real answer was simpler. Humanity had reminded them how to care. A delegation from a neighboring alliance arrived months later. They expected tension. Instead, they found open councils, shared authority, and citizens who spoke without fear. One alien delegate asked quietly, was it truly a human who caused this change? The former queen answered herself, no, a human showed us what we were refusing to see. And what was that? The delegate asked. That strength grows when it is shared. As the empire stabilized, something unexpected happened. Humans were no longer treated as volatile outsiders. They were invited. Human advisors helped redesign communication networks. Human mediators resolved disputes that had lasted generations, not because humans were superior, but because they were used to living with contradiction. They loved fiercely. They argued loudly. They healed quickly. Other species began adopting the same openness. Slowly, carefully, the galaxy shifted. One evening, as artificial stars lit the plaza, Alex found the former queen standing alone, watching children of different species play together. They're not afraid, he said. No, she replied. They don't remember how, he smiled. That's how it starts. She looked at him. The council has asked me to return, he turned, surprised. As queen? As something new, she said. A guide, a voice among many. What will you choose? Alex asked. She considered the question. For centuries, I believed choice was dangerous, she said. Now I know it is necessary. She met his gaze. I will accept, but not alone. Alex understood what she meant. I'll stay. They walked together through the plaza, unnoticed again, two individuals among many shaping a future without ruling it. Years passed. The empire did not become perfect. Disagreements flared, mistakes were made. But when problems arose, people spoke instead of hiding. They cared instead of obeying blindly. And they endured. The story of the law that once forbade love became history, taught not as shame, but as warning. Children learned that fear can disguise itself as wisdom, and that wisdom must be questioned. As for humanity, its reputation spread across the stars, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as connectors. Species that once dismissed humans as unstable now sought them as partners. Humans adapted to alien worlds not by changing themselves, but by understanding others. They built homes, they formed bonds, they stayed. One quiet night long after the war had faded into memory, the former queen and Alex stood at a balcony overlooking a rebuilt capital. Do you regret breaking your own law? Alex asked. She answered without hesitation. No. Even knowing the cost? He asked. Especially knowing the cost, she said, because anything worth protecting demands courage. She looked out at the city. Lights shimmered where darkness once ruled. I once believed love would destroy my people, she continued. Instead, it taught us how to survive. Alex rested his hands on the railing. Humans have been learning that lesson for a long time, she smiled faintly. Then the galaxy is fortunate you survived long enough to teach it. They stood together not as ruler and subject, not as symbols, but as equals. The empire moved forward, not driven by fear of loss, but guided by trust. And far beyond its borders, other civilizations watched and wondered how such change was possible. The answer was never hidden. An alien queen forbade love. Then a human arrived, and humanity did what it had always done best. It cared.